Start, it's on page AyinBase 18, 5 lines from the top. The line starts with the word begilui. We are discussing the principle of the fact that there is Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. Clearly stating there are different madreges in Kedusha, one higher than the other. And that, of course, is in the Oyer Leki. In Atmos there are no madreges. But we have been explaining that the Oyer is also Atzmi. Thus, what is the meaning that there are different madregas? So to answer that, not just to answer it, but give it a sense of demonstration, a sense of what this is about, we went to explain the Inyan from Oyer B'Keli, like in Atzilus. In Atzilus, the Oyer is in Keli. We discussed the principle of the Oyer and the Oyer in the Keli. And here we have differences in the Oyer as it manifests through the Keli. Depending on what kind of Keli it is, and depending on what kind of Oyer it is, how the Oyer is mislavish in the Keli. In a higher and a more refined Keli, the Oyer manifests in a much higher level, way, manner, clearer, more essential. Whereas in a Keli of a lower quality, then the Oyer is recognized only on the functional level, on the Keli level. The essence of the Oyer does not come through. So we discussed this, I believe, an extremely phenomenal principle that the Oyer is mislabish in the Keli and actually senses the Keli. And at that moment, when the Oyer actually senses the Keli, which means you begin to understand according to the Keli level, that is a very low level in the Oyer. Pardon me. The Keli, when we see the Oyer from the perspective of the Keli, and only on the level of the Keli, then we see an Oyer that requires substantiation by the Keli. In other words, what is this about? Oh, it has that function. That function gives reality, justification for the Oyer. It does not carry an essential truth of its own. That is a very low level of Oyer. Oyer, as we said, in essence, Oyer represents an element that is true in and of itself. Because Oyer is representative of the Etzem. I'm not going back there, but we discussed this. Therefore, it is entirely self-justifying, self-substantiating. Self-substantiating. You see this, oh yes, that's true. The element of substantiation, we have demonstrated it even on our level, physical level. And the better we understand it, the better we understand these final thoughts, principles. And here I'm going to reenact the scene that we already discussed quite a while ago. That if you see a cup on the table, you know logically, without a doubt of a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, that someone put the cup down there. Not only someone, but a human being put it down. But this knowledge comes in the form of a logical process. Seichel tells you that a human being put it down. Seeing the cup itself, the cup does not speak for the person who put it down there. The cup is completely insignificant presence. Doesn't say anything. And therefore it doesn't say who put me down there, that somebody put me down there. I happen to be there. But we know that it's impossible for the cup to be on the table on its own. Therefore we know that somebody put it down. This is like oyer hamislabish bekeli, through the keli, just on the very low level. Taking that same phenomenon, but when you look at the cup is full of coffee, and it's fresh, hot coffee. There, now the knowledge that a human being put it down is not on a secondary level. It is speaking for the person who put it down. It has a human quality for being there. Not only because it could not have gotten there without human assistance, but because it speaks for the human being. These two views are vastly different. And the seichel, the human seichel and the keli ha-seichel, that senses this difference, is a very important part of our seichel. To sense this difference requires a refinement of the seichel, of the mind. To be able to focus in on the reality of something rather than on the proof of something is a very significant thing in the human mind, in the seichel. And it's rooted in the fact that seichel is rooted in a living nefesh. And that is what enables us to see it that way, to see a living world. Not just a functional world, but an essential world. So, there are different levels of kelim, different levels of how the oil is manifest through the keli. If the keli completely conceals the oil, only that the oil justifies the keli's being, that's a very low level. But when the keli allows the oil to shine through, then you almost see the oil without the keli, even though it is through the keli. But you see the essential element of the oil. That is dependent on, not only on the oil, dependent on the hisdachachus hakeli. Hisdachachus, refinement, the sensitivity of the keli. And here is where the Rebbe gives us a direct point to think, to ponder. The line begins with the word begilui, and it is 5 lines from the top. When the oil is made begilui yoser, that is a higher oil. Ukmoi, at the end of that line, ukmoi, as in the case, the Chochmah. Chochmah. Chochmah is also oil bekeli. For those who have focused and understood a little bit of Chochmah, it is even difficult to identify where is the keli. It seems like this is pure oil, but it's not pure oil. And for this, we have discussed the great important, the likeness, the similarity, or not only similarity, the representation of Chochmah on the physical level, which is through re'iyah, through sight. Sight has also this tremendous refinement, where there is nothing compelling in sight. When you touch something, there's something compelling you to feel what you do, when you touch it. And if you hit it hard, then it's compelling an inside response. Sight has no response. You open your eyes and you see. Not actively see. You open your eyes and see what there is to see. The whole activity of the sight takes place by the reality of what you see, not by your action of seeing it. So you're not involved at all. The keli is hardly involved at all. And yet you actually see. And so we know that this is a keli. And one aspect where we can focus in and identify the keli element in the fact that you can close your eyes and not see. When you open your eyes, you see. Oil does not have, that oil perceives the truth in and of itself, not because something hits it. Like we say, Rotzin HaNefesh, this is pure oil HaNefesh. This is perfectly a constant uniform, to the extent that Machshava mishatet stop. Cannot shut it off. Shutting off Machshava mishatet stop, you're shutting off the life element of the person totally. This we discussed that Thursday, a great length. This is not really an oil bikini. This is seeing the oil directly.
You have nothing strong.
Oh.
Fine.
So in Chochmah, I wish we actually listened to these words. Shehakeli hi bedakus ma'oid kenoida. In Chochmah also has a keli. It's called Kli HaChochmah. As a matter of fact, it is mentioned in Sidus that in the brain itself there are two different locations in the brain. The Bina location and the Chochmah location. It's a keli. But the keli is bedakus ma'oid. Is an extremely fine. The word dak means thin, which means it's almost almost unobservable. Kinoida. Therefore, because the keli is an extreme refinement, Meir Shom begilui oir rab. So then the oir is shining with enormous clarity. Begilui oir rab, great oir, in a phenomenally revealed manner. This is it.
No, it's not there. 10 minutes.
Huh?
It's 10 minutes.
Well, 10 minutes because we go over. Yeah, it's fine. This guy keeps it on time. Okay. Where's some begilui oirav? And how great is this gilui? The gilui oirav is so great that it does not have to resort to the fact that there's a keli. It actually has a functional effect. You see, the oil itself is sufficient. It's self-substantiating. That is beginning of, like I said, go back to sight. You see physical object, but you don't have to prove to yourself, I see because there's a physical object here. It's touchable. No. Just the sight itself is the truth itself.
I missed the part where you said there's a keli element to it. It seems like just light, or self-substantiating.
Right. But there's a keli, and I said the experience of the keli is the fact that you can close your eyes and not see. If sight were relating to the truth itself, that does not vary. It's constant. Like Rosh HaNefesh does not vary.
But the sight where you close your eyes is only a mashal. So you're saying likewise by Chochmah, there's an element of observation.
Understand, please. It is a moshel, but this is a living moshel. It's a demonstration on a lower level of the higher quality. But it's the reality of it. Sight is also an element of Chochmah. But on the lower level.
Okay. I guess it just seems like we close our eyes for almost practical reasons, but regarding Chochmah, there's no closing, but I guess no.
Okay, forget for a moment to close your eyes. Obviously, it seems like it diverted your attention. What would be perhaps more useful is to compare, as we would project, human sight versus animal sight.
Okay.
The animal also sees. The camera sees. And this is what the atheists say, human being sees the same way as a camera. That's the experience of sight. It's idiotic. What in fact is a difference? Let's not talk about the camera. A human, an animal. So we bring this very simple experience. The human being is walking, and Al-Hamad, the dog, is walking. They both encounter an obstacle in the form of a wall. The dog identifies this obstacle as an obstacle. Period. A wall. Doesn't even translate it in terms of a wall. It's an obstacle. Human being identifies it at the minimum as a wall, and in truth he sees it as a wall of a house. What's a wall of a house? A house is a let's say a three-dimensional reality. As it is an intellectual concept. Discussed in the past, Chassidus is all the time referring to these two components, the Mitzias and the Mahus. The Mitzias is a stripped down presence, which does not stand for anything. Like I said, the cup, an empty cup standing, that's a Mitzias. Doesn't tell you anything. Being there, not being there is totally insignificant. A cup of coffee, that's a mahus, that's a reality.
So just to, if you were to break down the components of sight into the seeing the house versus just seeing the fact that there's a Mitzias there, that would be the orb and Keli, that would be...
Yes, the house, that is what we see, the house, which is oil nekei. What is the oil of a house? The human presence in the world. Oil she'eino bayis she'eino yoda. That's the oil of the house. That is what we refer to when we look at it. Said, oh, you see the Manhattan skyline. What's a skyline? I don't know what's going on.
It's the Persolis of the Malachim.
Sorry?
The Persolis of the Malachim?
Okay.
Huh?
You understand? This is, so that's what it says. Chochmah is also in a keli. But the keli is bedakus me'oid. What does bedakus me'oid mean? The keli does not grab the oil, does not need a metzias of oil. All it needs is just a little illumination, a little sense what you're talking about, and it comes to life. Like we demonstrate many times, well, way back when, it says if a little child, an infant, a little child, is shown a picture, shown a box like this, in order to substantiate that these colors really exist, what is he going to do? Take a taste of it. First thing he does, he put it in his mouth. Because he does not have Chochmah as he had developed.
Maybe aside, but the fact that, let's say, a real experience of Chochmah, like the way it's explained as a flash, aha, maybe few and far between, that's because the Keli is not refined enough to sense the... In other words,
that's because the Keli, this Keli, is not into it.
not the Keli of Chochmah, but the Keli of the whole...
Not the Keli of Chochmah, it's the human Keli. In order to sense Chochmah, one has to refine himself and focusing. What is the truth of this? Chochmah will serve you well more than nefesh. Life will serve you well, but you were so blinded, you were so into the coarse aspect of it that you don't see what there is to see. That's why Chochmah requires enormous amount of concentration to be focusing. What am I really looking for? All the things that we're discussing are all essentially revolving around this principle. Let's identify what there is really to see here. A car. Oh, a car is it goes into circles. Look, it can go 150 miles per hour. Is that what there is to see? What initiated the whole thing? What is it about? What's the reality behind it? Reality, that's the first question of Chochmah. Not how I feel about it and how it affects me, but what's real, what's the reality? This is what the Rambam says. Yisoid ha-yisoides amud ha-Chochmas. What is the foundation of all foundations of Chochmah is that there is a motivation, this reality. And therefore, Chochmah is seeking always to identify and reconnect everything that is to this reality. This reality is not functional and not experience dependent, not taste dependent. It's a super reality. That's what Chochmah is based on. And in order that the physical keli should be able to sense any amount, any iota of that chokhmah, it has to be refined and refined and refined. This is the Dachos HaKeli. The more mazuchas the keli is, the greater is the line, is the light that's shining. The greater and the more clear the light that's shining. To the extent that it says that the greatest oineg by a person, follow this, is to perceive of Chochmah. And with this you can live. What? You can feed your stomach with it. This is what gives a person life, strength. Food is just to maintain that the body should not dissipate. I don't want to skip away. So in the Chochmah, Meir Shom begilui oy rav, the oyer is shay begilui oy rav. What is the meaning begilui oy rav? Begilui oy rav is a great revelation in the sense that this oyer does not require substantiation. I'm certain, beyond the possibility of doubt, of this reality. I can stake my whole life on it. it's late, but a baal tshuvah who has come from a completely different world of physical experience. Focus on observable. And then he abandons that for Torah mitzvahs. So some say, oh yeah, there is beauty in that. Look, Shabbos, Friday night is a beautiful table. That's a camouflage. The real thing is looking for something that for the truth itself. How can you abandon the whole world for this truth? This is it for this morning. Okay, we have the Beis in Mitzvah today in the Baal Yeshiva at 9 o'clock. Have a great day.
Shalom Niflach.
Yeah.